all names, but we are going to introduce ourselves. Permit me a moment to share my screen, and then we will get started. Okay. So this morning we are talking together, well, you chose to have us talk about education for professional growth, access and resources to capacity building for women in the maritime industry sector. And that's what I've been involved in for the last 15 years. I have seen a lot of things, and I know you too have your own experiences. So as we come this morning, we're going to talk about where we can go. So I am going to ask us, there are so few of us that this will be painless. And because I've minimized my view, I'm just going to, let me go back to it. Okay, I think I have everybody now. I'm going to start at Tamika, and we're going to go around. I just want you to do two things for me. Tell me the name of your high school. Which high school did you go to? Tell me if you can recall your school's colors and then your school motto. So you may have to think about the colors. Maybe you didn't pay attention, but that's fine. Let's go with Tamika. Your high school, your school's colors, your school motto.
I went to the convent high school. Our school colors were navy blue and white, and the school motto was Labor and Omni.
Do you know what it is in English?
No, I can't remember.
Can you remember why navy and white?
That was the colors actually. There's a primary section and there's a secondary section. So that's the colors they chose.
Okay, there are some maritime colors going on there. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Juliet.
Good morning, everyone. The name of my high school is the Portsmouth Secondary School, which is in Dominica originally. The colors were gray, white, and black. And the school motto is aspire and achieve.
Excitement, no Latin here, just aspire and achieve. Love
Yes.
it. I don't know if it's Cian, but you can say it for me. So go right ahead. Tell us your name so I won't mess it up. And school colors, school motto.
Cian. I went to the school. It is we call it St. Joe. Our colors were cream. The carry color motto. It has been so long.
That's all right. Portsmouth, cream, and I think I didn't get the other color, but I did get cyan, so I'm happy. All right.
Yes.
Sabina, just join in and tell us, please.
Yeah, so my high school was split into two schools. I do remember the motto of both of them. I mean, the first high school was St. John's School, and the colors were Bordeaux and gold. And the motto was Vincit Veritas, which means the truth will triumph or something like that. And the other high school was a Catholic school, and the colors were blue and green, and the motto was forming mind and heart, or something like training mind and heart, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Elisa. Please go ahead and tell me your name.
Hi, good afternoon, all.
Yes.
So the best way to pronounce my name is Elisa.
Elisa. Okay.
Yes. I'm from Suriname, and the name of my high school is the A.R. Lewin School. So that's in Dutch. And Lewin would translate to English for lioness, like the female lion. I don't think we had a motto or school colors because that's not quite common in Suriname. once you go to the university and other higher vocational studies, that's when the mottos and the school colors come in place.
Okay, okay, thank you. I wanted you to speak, and you did. I thank you. And I wanted you to look back. And it did that effectively. And you remember you came through secondary school. And I don't know what were your hopes and dreams, or what were your thoughts about where you would be, let's say, 3 years after, or 5 years, or even 13 years after. But you have made that transition. And I know that the mottos, the truth will triumph, and all of the mottos, rise up, do your best, whatever the school motto was. I went to Manchester High School, and that's a school in the middle of Jamaica. I'm rural, but we had a school motto that said, "Let your light shine." And I think wherever they had a motto or a thought behind our schools, they were trying to empower and encourage us to do our best using the knowledge that we got in those schools. And so I don't think the original listing of attendees is what I have here. And so I'm going to skip this slide because I don't think I have I have everybody who was listed here. That being said, though, your company, where you work, you'd have to tell me in a few seconds again about your role. But I want you to think back on the session that we're having for a minute. Education for professional growth, and we're talking about access, capacity building in the maritime sector. Now, we're going to pause again before we run into it. And this time, after you speak this time, you won't be doing a lot of talking, but we kind of have to situate ourselves. So if I say, Elisa, what do you do? Tell us in a sentence. Professionally, what do you do? And what do you hope to get from this session? 2 sentences. What do you do professionally? What do you hope to get from this session?
So what I do is I make sure that our finance manager looks good in meetings.
Yes.
And what I hope to get out of this session is to how I can how I can make the next best career jump.
Oh, beautiful. I love the word jump. Thank you. Sayan, what do you do in a sentence, and what do you hope to get out of this session? You're muted.
Hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Personal cargo coming into the country.
Okay.
To get from this session the way forward, the movement, the next.
All right.
How do I achieve that?
All right. I love that. I love that. Sabina, you're here. Go ahead.
Well, if I have to put it in one sentence, I basically manage different stakeholders to provide products and services for the benefit of the port and maritime community. If I can put it in a very general way.
Right.
And I'm hoping that from this session, I can actually recognize the tools that I've been gathering through the years in my education and see how can I apply it for my future and my growth in this sector.
Awesome. Juliet.
Presently, I am the office manager of Tropical Shipping and Martin. Basically, the all-rounder. Everybody comes to me for everything, but my main role is accounting, both payable and receivables. What I seek to learn from this mentorship program is to see myself through other women, where they are and where they're going, and also to learn from them and you as well as the mentor and see where I can apply those things that I learned and want to seek in my life presently.
All right, I love it. Tamika.
Presently, I'm the senior administrative clerk at the Dominican Seaports Authority. My role is to ensure the smooth running within the department beneath the human resource manager. So I assist her. What do I see from this training? To gain a little more knowledge and to assist me in moving up within the organization.
So ladies, I thank you so much, Tamika. Notice I did not ask you what your, what's your title. I've come to learn over the years that you're not a title, you're a person. And I like the person said, I'm an all-rounder. Everybody comes to me for everything. And so just, well, I won't tell you in one sentence, I'll tell you in a few how I got here in maritime education and training. When I was in high school, we had all these options of what we could do professionally. But somehow I got shunted into teacher education. And I decided when I went to that space to focus on the teaching of English. It didn't help that I love literature and the arts, and that my English teachers were always the nicest people, and that came kind of naturally to me. When I left off teacher training, I went into the secondary education system in Jamaica. And I think I did with joy everything that came under my hand. And so eventually I headed that English department, and after a while I got bored. My students would come in past CSEC English with the highest grades. I was getting run-up teacher of the year and all sorts of things, but I was running out of how to do things new. It became rote. I knew what to do. I taught boys, by the way, for a long time, only boys. And I kind of understood what to do, which books to open, and I decided I wanted to go. And so I applied into the Caribbean Maritime Institute at the time to administrate their teaching and learning. They were running a diploma in shipping logistics and an Associate of Science degree in engineering, along with the training of maritime, mariners and marine engineers. And it was a small outfit. And in that space, I realized that the sector was so enormous. And so I skewed my own training towards the understanding the maritime education and training sector better. I decided not to do another specialized degree at the master's, but to do curriculum so that I could focus on maritime curriculum. And I did the same work for the doctoral pursuit. I focused on education, focused on curriculum, but in the meantime, I was attending all the conferences, I was learning about the sector, I was planning events in the sector, networking with people in the sector. And long story short, moved across from training to the other areas of the university, admissions, quality management. I got training in that. And what I have is not just a straight track that is academic, as in a bachelor degree, a master's, and a PhD, but I have a number of stackable qualifications: project management, quality management systems, maritime sector training. So I understand a few things about port. I've not been there in any hands-on way like some of you folks, but I understand the sector, and I found that it is a place I've fallen in love with. And so I did the soft training towards a better understanding of this sector. Here are some lessons that I learned along the way, that there are many routes to the same place. People start out together, let's say in high school, and some people 10 years later will say, boy, I have not achieved, while 10 years later, we will find colleagues who we think are doing extraordinarily well in their field. And we wonder what made the difference. I have also learned that we cannot align ourselves with each other to say, okay, because X is qualified in this way or does that, X is doing better in life. I think our doing well is within us. Am I satisfied? Do I have a purpose, and am I fulfilling that purpose? And if we can answer those questions in the affirmative, do I live a full life? When I go to bed, am I tired, but am I tired of being tired? Or am I excited about getting up the next day and being tired again? And that kind of spirit makes a difference. And so here I'm going to share some of the things that I have found about progressing. And I know that you ladies coming with your own experiences can verify some of these things. And you can also take some of the things probably that you did not see and put them in your skill set as you map your way forward. So when we think about how do we move forward, as all of us have said, this is something that I've found, that we have to establish our personal destination. One of the things I love about the industry is how shipping works. Shipping as a sector, and I'm talking about the ships part of it, not the sailing. I remember the first time I went to the Panama Canal, because I've been going around trying to understand the sector as a whole. Excuse me. And I realized that every ship that enters the zone, and I know you ladies in the business will, some of you will understand this much better than I did. Every ship that enters the zone has a set time to come out of the zone. And then I understood that there were ships in Europe that had not yet entered the zone, but had a fixed time to get in there and get out, because the entire business was wrapped up around those ETAs. And if those estimated times of arrival were not met, then what we would have is crisis on some port somewhere, and some clients not fulfilling or meeting their demand, the logistics demand. And, you know, I think we feel it in the islands nearer to Christmas, when the crunch time comes down and we know that all of this cargo needs to get in and get out. And that kind of charting of a course and estimating a time of arrival is equally important in our personal lives. And so one of the things I've found is it is very important for us, when we are deciding how we are going to move, to establish our own personal destination. So we ask ourselves each day, and we can do this once per year or twice per year. And if we are more strategic, this could be a quarterly affair for us, to ask ourselves in a very straightforward way with pen and paper, or use your iPad or use your computer, doesn't matter, where am I going? And we have to decide, you know, kind of what is my goal? If it is that I want to get into management, I mean, you can, well, people scheme their way into management, but you can have a strategic work that you are doing. When you say you want to do something else, is that something for personal development or for professional development or for both? So personally, I sat down many moons ago and I wrote down the things that I wanted to do. And I finished my PhD early in the pandemic, when many of my colleagues who were with me in that class dropped out. Yes, they just couldn't find the tools. And I have no judgment of them, because there are different tools that they couldn't find. Some were financial, some were time, some had to deal with illness, different things. I've seen some come back, and about 3 finished in this year. But how did I do it? I don't know. I think God is good. But I also decided to continue with my data collection. I felt strongly that if I could schedule the interviews and get those 27, I did about 27 face-to-face interviews and some focus groups. And if I could get them out of the way, I would at least have the data and could continue. And that was our best plan, because when other people were trying to rally to get data collection done, I had my data, all interviews transcribed, and my supervisor and I continued to work on writing the final chapters. The goal was useful because it was the intentionality that got me through to the end. So where are you going? You have to be intentional. You have to write it down. Is it for personal development? Is it for professional development? Write it down. Is it for both? So one of the things that happened to me or nearly happened to me was burnout, because when you attack too many things, you really get stressed. And one of the things that I've done in the last 2 years, since 2021, I decided to write down and do something for professional development and something for personal development. So professional development is kind of on point, but the personal development, I kept saying, what am I going to do? And then I worked it out. I've always wanted to sing. I don't have my singing voice is not that bad, but hey, I don't know the techniques. And so I signed up for an online voice class in 2021. And guess what? It's going well. Now I have those classes face to face. And now that things are back up, my church has gone back to having face-to-face choir practice, and everybody's just floored that, but Yvette, you can do this. And I'm like, you don't know what I've been doing. It didn't come naturally. I've been paying for this. So the breathing techniques, all these things were something that I did for myself. In the story of Alice in Wonderland, if you know it, Lewis Carroll, Alice is in Wonderland and she wants to get out, and she meets this cat and she says, the Cheshire cat, and she says, how do I get out of here? Where do I go? The cat says to her, where do you want to go? And she says, I don't know. And he responds, well, if you don't know, any road can take you there. And so this is it. We have to be I want to give it the word this morning, intentional. It can't just be a wish. It has to be a plan. Very intentional about moving professionally, personally, whatever it is. I understand, and I learned it a lot from finishing graduate school. I learned it a lot when my doctor said to me many months ago, I don't like your blood sugar levels. If you continue like this, I'm going to give you insulin. And I'm like, you are crazy. And so I intentionally started eating differently. And so I don't take added sugar. There's so many things I did. And I have the benefits and the blessing now of checking my blood sugar, and it's normal, and I don't have the scare. And now I have to be reminding myself, it wasn't a project, it's a lifestyle change. So stick with it, no soda, water, water, water. But intentionality is what makes a difference. So if nothing else from this slide, we have to have a sense of what we want. And then from there, we can decide how we're going to get it. So that self-understanding, treat yourself as your most important business, because your companies will demand everything of you. Mine does. And I'm in education. It's not big money business like yours. And so the company will pull you up for time. They'll beg you with decent rhetoric for a few more hours, ask you to push back your vacation a little because you know what it is. They will tell you the truth, that they don't know how they can work without you. And it's the truth. But if anything happens to you, they will work without you. And then there's that thing about reciprocity, where you give, but you must get something from it. And it's not selfishness, it's not any kind of ugly thing. It's planning so that it's win-win, not win-lose. So I invite you, as of today, if you have not done so in a formal way, to treat it like business and do your personal strategic planning. Plan for you. You sit down and you plan hours for your company and your family, even your friends. They have showers, they have lots of things, and you spend hours fixing things so that a function for them is perfect. And if you have children, not to mention them, they get the best from you. So give yourself some of your best too, which is your thought and your time. Have a vision for yourself. If you say, so it was in my vision, now I have to change my vision because it was my vision to say, part of my vision for myself was to earn a graduate degree, then earn a postgraduate degree. Now, what is my further vision for me? I have to sit down and pen it. Have a mission though. And you know that the vision is what you see yourself as in the long term, 20, 25 years, what's the ultimate you? Some people have a vision of retiring by the time they are 40 or 45, and they're on their way to that. to be retired and to be doing philanthropic work or that sort of thing. What's your mission though? Day to day, what will you do? Will you take some time to plan for your own things? Day to day, do you want to continue to be the go-to person in the industry that people ask about this? How do you make sure that that remains so? How do you ensure that you're always current? That sort of thing. I have friends who commit to reading the newspaper every day, especially the business section, because they need to know how the market is if they're going to comment on it for the day. With that mission, you need some core values that you don't just live, but you write down. I have a friend who likes to talk about codifying, writing it down. And you write it down so it is in your own penmanship. So you see it and it makes a little track across your brain so you know what you should be doing. Core values, patience. What else do you want to put in there? A spiritual focus, if that's for you, or you want to do rest, you want to self-care, commitment to family, you write those down. And then the strategic goals are the way you plan to move into your mission and vision. Take a good look at this slide. I'll show it again. I copied it from Pinterest, but I think it embodies what I'm trying to say this morning. All of us have a dream. But when we write down a dream with a date, it becomes a goal. And so I have had friends who have been dreaming of taking a cruise, but it has never been done because there was no date attached. They just say, you know, I want to take a cruise. I want to go around. I want to. When? And if we write a date and it does not happen, that's fine. I want to take. So I've had friends who said they would sign up for the voice classes with me. Let's just do it together. Nothing like friends to not fulfill a goal. Let's do it together. And then I said, you know, I started the classes. What? And you never tell me? But we said we would do it together. And then I've had friends who, when I started, they said, you know, I'm doing this because somebody has to take the lead. But what makes a dream different from just wishful thinking is when a date is attached to it. So I hear people jokingly say, well, I'm getting married next year, but I have to find the person. I'm like, really? Just the husband I need, but a goal, a date makes it a goal. And then if we have a goal, we have to break it down into steps. So if it is that you want to do another degree or a degree, and you want to do something in business administration, or you want to do it in strategic management, which is good, or human relations, the first step is to start putting your documents together. Step 2 is to choose a university, or 2 or 3. Step 3 is to make the application to those places. Let 3 of them accept you and you are forced to choose, rather than not apply to any and then not have a choice, but apply around. And step 3 is to think about the financing. Probably you want to think about the financing as step 1 and probably put an investment program down with your local bank or cooperative so that you can have this as a nest egg toward that dream. And we break it down into steps, the goal, and that's when it becomes a plan, because you now have a step 1, a step 2, a step 3. And all you have to do with that plan now is start acting. When you have step 1 as opening the account, you put the money down, you save for a year, it's time to move to step 2 of your plan, which is to make the application. You make your application, the acceptance comes back. What do? You can't start this year. You get to defer. You send a letter to the university asking them to defer your acceptance until next year, but you have something that you're acting on. And as you do that step by step, reality is not far. And I know you have done it with other things in your life, so you can do it with your self-development plan. When you started planning that birthday party for whomever the friend was, step 1 was to find the venue. Step 2 was to make the invitation list. Step 3 was to send out the invitations. Step 3 was to talk to the caterers and the decorator. And you got through. And then when it came to execution, it was done. And You know how to do it. So ensure that you do it with your personal, professional progress plan too. There is this idea that came to me that if you're going to move, we have to map it. And for me, map it is captured in these tasks. Where do you want to go? Does it involve academic training? Probably it doesn't. And many times when we start to think professional growth, it doesn't always need academic training. I have found though that there are some times when it is good to have that level of training in the bag, and we'll talk about that. But probably you need to identify a mentor, not necessarily one in your workplace, because sometimes you need to make silent moves right where you are, and you don't discuss plans, you just announce your arrival. So sometimes, especially because when a dream is far away, you don't want to talk about it, and then if nothing happens on the timeline that you have, persons start asking you, say, you're not going to do so and so again. It's like you say to somebody, well, let me use my example. I kind of was very quiet about the PhD work because I didn't want people to keep asking me, you're not finished yet? When you finishing? Because that part, doing that dissertation was very long and very, very hard. And I didn't want to keep telling people and stressing myself. Also, not everybody who hears about your dream will encourage it. And that's a good piece of reality that I just have to be frank about. You know, people are people. People are just people. And so you will want to move, and you know that there's this burning desire in your heart, and you have paid all of your dues, and you have a plan to move. But somebody will think, why you? And people may thwart your plans. And so we quietly do some things. So sometimes a mentor doesn't have to be in the immediate space. So when I knew I wanted to make the application for where I am now, graduate studies and research, which is different from being a regular lecturer in the system, I went to another university, to a professor, a very credentialed professor, who is also a family friend, yes, and that was a good thing. And I asked him, Prof, could you be my mentor? He said, what do you want? What do you mean mentor? And I said, I want you to explain to me how I move academically and the other areas. I understand the academic movement, but what else do I do? And I have somebody who has been very kind to me. In fact, his entire family has been kind to me. His wife celebrates what happens with me. They tell me, you know, the children are doing this. We have a good relationship. But it's somebody who says, Yvette, if you're going to do this, this is what I think you should do. It's also somebody who said, I'm going to introduce you to our director of graduate studies so you can sit with her and get some idea of the scope. And this open door led me to another person who sat with me for 3 hours one afternoon for a good time and said, this is how I set up my place. And this is from, I can say, the University of the West Indies in Mona. This is our largest university, but it's somebody who was so willing and open. And then at the end of the session, gives me a personal number and say, anytime you need me, just call me. And if you don't get me, leave a message, I'll get back. Now that is gold. I couldn't pay for that, but I had to find somebody who had that kind of currency because I didn't. And so when you identify that mentor, be fearless about asking for help, which is what I did, because everything is not just on the academic. And I had to put myself out there and said, well, the only thing I can do is fail. And the only thing I can hear is no. And if it's a no, then at least I asked. And so ask for help, find a mentor, ask for help. Another thing that I've learned about asking is I remember writing a paper, and the professor who wrote the book on the subject was resident in Canada. But at the back of at the end of the journal article, his credentials were there. And I just took a shot in the dark, and I wrote an email, and I asked him something to clarify something. And ladies, believe it or not, well, I was shocked. In about 2 weeks, the gentleman responded in a very fulsome way and said, and I wish you all the best with your paper. And I'm like, I would not have known that the author would have answered had I not asked. I can tell you something else because I'm just trying to illustrate by example. I remember needing to find some information about the maritime curriculum in Jamaica. And I learned that the initial parties that took the teaching of MET, the discipline, to Jamaica were Norwegians. And every time I did an interview, somebody kept saying, you need to talk to the Norwegian. And I'm like, I don't know which part. Sorry, I don't know if Jamaican Creole, if you get it, but I'm like, I don't know when I wait there. You know how far? And I got a name, and ladies, one day I went to, God bless social media, I went onto Facebook and I searched, and I saw the Norwegian name twice, but only one really matched the name I got. And I went onto the person's Facebook page and I said, well, I took up the message icon and I messaged the person. And I said, I don't know if you are so-and-so, but this is who I am, this is what I need. And then I wrote on the person's page, could you please check your, no, I think her page is private, but I could message her. And I waited and 2 months passed, 3 months. And then I said, okay, I tried. And I will tell you this, in the 4th month, I saw the message icon on Facebook light up on there, and I'm like, who's messaging me? I forgot about it. And when I went, the person responded, yes, I am Torgun Rist. Yes, my father was the last Norwegian administrator of the school in Jamaica, and I am in Jamaica on vacation. And if you would like to meet me, that's fine. And it's led me to a place where I got papers out of the library in Oslo in Norway that Torgun translated. So I know, Elisa, you know that, because I'm to come down to Suriname for a meeting, and I'm like, but this is a Dutch speaking place. But she translated these Norwegian documents into English for me. And I got information that I could get nowhere else. Why? I asked. I have no doubt that, you know, it's just a blessing, but I asked. If I had not asked, I would not have received. So please feel fearless about asking. And when you receive the mentorship or the access that you ask for, start to plan. Put some good thoughts on it, pray about it, but start with a plan. Even if it is a very loose plan, you don't have to say by next year, I must be this or that, but you could give yourself a 2-year, 3-year plan as to how you're going to move. But don't feel any way about setting tight deadlines, because if they don't come up, you can always push them back because you have something concrete. Information is always a need. Find it, find the people with it. And if there's something that you need to master, I also use the I for iteration, which is do it over and over until you get it right. If it's a language, practice. If it is a competency, practice it. If it's formulas for calculating something in your field, practice it until you get it right and you own it. And I always say that at the end of the map, it is the T, which says we are to be thankful. And thankfulness says we are to extend the chain of kindness. So bring somebody else. Do for somebody what you would have wanted somebody to do for you. But just to run that over again, find a mentor or a space where you can be coached, ask for help, plan a plan, make a definite plan. Seek the information. If there's something to master, then do the iterations, practice it, be thankful, be thoughtful. But we have to start getting there. Now, as we map it, I want you to consider these things. How do we get there? You have to stay motivated. It's very, you know, I know that some of us, you know, are easier put off than some. And I know, because it's the law of probability that some of us here are very tough cookies. A lot of things have come at us and we've stayed the course, but these are not ordinary times. The pandemic has placed our sector sometimes in survival mode. I remember that, well, in Jamaica, our primary source of our GDP source, our primary source of money for GDP is tourism. And I remember that the whole sector was locked down. We have invested in at least 5 cruise terminals in Jamaica. And believe it or not, we only have 2 cargo terminals, right? But we have 5 cruise terminals. We have Falmouth, we have Ocho Rios, we have Montego Bay, we have Kingston, and we have somewhere in Boscobel, I think it's St. Mary, where we have ships coming in. Our Falmouth port was redone so that we could get huge, I think it was the Oasis of the Seas, which was the biggest cargo cruise ship at the time. And we made space so it could dock because we needed to earn. But we came to a time when the entire sector of 160,000 workers for the cruise and hospitality industry alone, not the entire shipping, just cruise and hospitality, lost their work because not one ship was moving. So these are not ordinary times. And so if you are employed, don't lose hope, stay motivated. You may not like where you are right now, or you may feel a little anxiety about the fact that you have not done a few things, but stay up in thought, stay motivated. And if by nothing else, be motivated by your plans. At least that will excite you when you know you have a plan. Stay motivated. Here is something else. You know, there's a place, ladies, where there is what we want to do and there is what we have to do. So my husband is a bank manager. He's a corporate banker, not commercial banker. And he comes home and he says, I can't do this anymore. I think I'm going to counsel children. I'm like, really? Don't even think about it. I'm a teacher. So unless you have a trust fund, you get some motivation and go back to work. But I'm being horrible because if he really can't do it anymore, then we would have to think about what he can do and stay, in his right mind. But I know he was joking at the time. So where am I going? I'm going there to say, what do you want to do? What do you love? Can you marry that with the need for capacity building in the sector? Try to think about that. What can I do that I can use in this sector? What can I learn while I'm on the job? Is there any in-house training? Can I shadow somebody? Do I have any free courses that I can do? If you don't know about it, look at Coursera.org. There are a lot of courses there that we can do, short courses that are free, and some can be paid for, and you can do those in the comfort of your homes. Check it out and thank me later. Have a bias towards action though. Always check, what am I doing? Am I doing it right? Is this working? Check yourself and look back at what works for you. Persistence and flexibility. I will cut out a lot of talking because I think we're running out of time. But I want you to know that whatever comes at you, you have to be ready for what we just went through. That just strengthens some muscles that we have to change. And if you feel that something is being offered to you, an open door so you can use your skills in another area of the industry, then go and try it. It won't hurt. Run and go see. Make a plan that you can come back. And remember our original slide here, that if you write down your dream, it's good, but if you put a date on it, it's a goal. If you break down those goals into steps, then it becomes a plan. And when you back that plan by action, then you are headed for reality. So some resources before we close. Check your industry network. Do you find anything there? Do you have scholarships available locally? What about Commonwealth scholarships? Most of us are in that space, so we have access to like the British Council's Chevening Scholarship. Look at it. Go to online resources like Coursera.org. Go on LinkedIn, create a good profile and keep looking around. The possibilities are amazing. Look at YouTube for learning. It's not just for music. A lot of things can be learned there. I know you know. There are some useful social media groups, so not just waste our time. So find the ones like LinkedIn that will help us. Formal education, there are programs at the academic level, like programs at CMU that we offer. The University of Trinidad and Tobago has a maritime faculty. World Maritime University, go on their website, look around. In fact, they have a whole page called funding. available. So look at those, look around, type it in Google and look. Your local university and college. If you can do career enlargement, which is change within your sector. So let's say that you're managing incoming cargo. What if they ask you to go to ports, cruise side? Could you look at doing that? Check out those things. The fox and the hedgehog. Fox will try to eat the hedgehog. Hedgehog knows what its business is, and it's to wrap itself around its core, that soft spot. Once the fox cannot turn the hedgehog over, it cannot kill it, because your core is your most important part of you. What are you best at? Any move that you're going to make for training or for learning, put it around the thing you're best at. So if you are good people skills, then do your training around people skills in the industry. If you are good at data analytics, stick with data analytics in the industry. If you are good at project management, look at project management in the industry. Wrap yourself around your core. I think we are going to run out of time. So I want to thank you for coming, and I want to shunt you back to this slide. And that's my challenge to you. Ladies, write it down, because if you write it down, you're looking at it. If you put a date on it, it becomes a goal. If you break it down into the steps to achieve it, it's a plan. And if you back up that plan by action, then your reality is what it is. I hope this helped. And yes, any comment before they kick us back to the main room? All right. So I think we're going to go over. Yes, Juliet.
I was just saying, on behalf of all of us, we thank you for your presentation, and it was very informative and insightful, and we